Ladies and gentlemen, I think Sony want to become the new Nintendo. From absolutely out of nowhere, they announced that the PlayStation VR 2 is going to be released. Furthermore, they even confirmed it will have a brand new controller as well. So let's take a look at the blog post. I'll of course link it in the video description, but today I'm pleased to share that our next generation VR system will be coming to the PS5, enabling the ultimate entertainment experience with dramatic leaps in performance and interactivity. Players will feel an even greater sense of presence and become more immersed in game worlds when they put on the new headset. We're continuing to innovate with our VR system so that our fans can continue to enjoy unique experiences that are synonymous with PlayStation. We're taking what we learned since launching the PSVR on PS4 to develop a next generation VR system that enhances everything from resolution, FOV, to tracking and input. It will also connect to the PS5 with a single cord to simplify setup and improve ease of use, while enabling high-fidelity visual experiences. One of the innovations we're excited about is our new VR controller, which will incorporate some of the key features found in the DualSense wireless controller, along with a focus on great ergonomics. That's just one of the examples of future-proof technology we're developing to match our vision for the next generation of VR games and experiences. They also add that the system will not launch in 2021, but they wanted to provide a quote early update to fans. There have been actually a ton of leaks for PlayStation VR 2. In fact, we saw a patent, actually several patents pertaining to the device. One seemed to indicate that it does support foveated rendering, which may actually match up to what Sony is stating here regarding the improved tracking. If you don't know what foveated rendering is, basically the device itself tracks what you're looking at in the scene. Things which are in your focus will be shaded at higher rates, and things which are in your peripheral vision, they will be shaded correspondingly with lower detail. And this obviously is of critical importance when it comes to VR experiences, because higher frame rates are incredibly important, or you'll start to feel nausea. Like 90 FPS is like okay, but 120 would be ideal. Obviously, because Sony are giving no details as to the specification of the device, such as resolution targets at the moment, it's quite difficult to really kind of have any meaningful information or discussion on that yet. But I do find it interesting regarding the patents, although, as I always say, a patent is a patent doesn't necessarily become a product. And almost a year ago to the day, actually, I released a video discussing the PSVR 2 from what I was hearing from a source which allegedly was working inside of Sony. I want to stress that I can't verify this information, but I do find it quite interesting, as some of what that individual did tell me seems to be matching up to what Sony said here. But the controller for PSVR was called Aston, but the PS5's controller itself, so this would, I'm assuming, be the DualShock controller, that was called Bond. So again, Prospero for the device, Aston for the VR controller, and Bond for what I'm again assuming to be the DualShock 5. Either way, I just found that was quite interesting. But we also have a follow-up interview with Jim Ryan from Sony, which was taking place at GQ. I will say a lot of the answers he gave were kind of non-committal answers, or just, well, not really answering the questions at all. He mentioned that, of course, Sony are diligently doing the best they can to get PlayStation 5s into the hands of users. GQ tried to press and ask them what the shortages are. Jim, unfortunately, said he couldn't answer that, only that they were doing their best to solve the product chain challenges. I'll link the entire interview, of course, in the video description, but one of the things GQ asked him is that the big difference which you mentioned is there's going to be one cord which you connect to the PS5. Jim said, and I quote, "That was a very simple and visible illustration from a lesson we've learned from one iteration from the present system to the new one. We're not actually releasing any specs at this stage. That will come over the course of this year, when we'll be talking about it more." However, during the same interview, Jim did state that PlayStation games are now going to start to come to the PC, and one of those games is actually going to be Days Gone. So, releasing PlayStation games on PC was something that Sony PlayStation held back for a long time, said the interviewer. What's changed? Jim responds, and I quote, "I think a few things changed. We find ourselves now in early 2021 with our development studios and games that they are in better shape than they've ever been. particularly from the latter half of the PlayStation 4 cycle, as studios made some wonderful, great games. And there's an opportunity to expose those great games to a wider audience and recognise the economics of game development, which are not always straightforward. The cost of making game goes up with each cycle, so the calibre of IP is improved. Also, our ease of making it available to non-console owners has grown, so it's a fairly straightforward decision for us to make. He also adds, in regards to how Horizon Zero Dawn did on the PC, we assess the exercise in two ways. Firstly, in terms of straightforward success of the activity of publishing the game on the PC, people who liked it and then they bought it, and we also looked at it through the lens of what the PlayStation community thought about it. There was no massive adverse reaction to it, so we will continue to take mission steps in this direction." End quote. I want to be abundantly clear, in my personal opinion, we are not going to see every single PlayStation title come to PC. I think even games which do end up coming to PC, they're probably not going to see a simultaneous release. However, from the wording of this interview, Jim, as well as the rest of Sony, seem to want to use this to basically let PC gamers know of PlayStation IPs, so that they can experience them for themselves, get extra money and recoup the cost. Days Gone was actually one title which was brought up during the interview, and again, that title is going to come out later this year for PC. I have to say, personally, it's not a game that I was super hyped about, but I'm sure everyone's different. I think that this does make logical sense, and I can certainly see a world where, for example, older Uncharted games get released on the PC, while a new Uncharted game, for example, is being released on the PlayStation 5. I'm sure that this is going to be met with some level of resistance from PlayStation fans, but from a personal perspective, given again the ballooning cost of games development at the moment and just overall getting people into the PlayStation ecosystem, I can certainly understand why Sony would do this. It possibly will take longer for PlayStation 5 exclusives, for example Demon's Souls, and that's not a leak, I'm just using it as an example, to come to PC. But I also do think that studios which are not part of Sony, for example Capcom, and releasing titles on the PC simultaneous to the PlayStation may be also more common. Also, a very cool update from Microsoft is GameStack Live, where Microsoft will actually be debuting changes to DirectX for PC, and these changes are going to be extremely important for PC gaming going forward, quite honestly. We're going to see the debut of DirectX storage for Windows, I'll get more into that in just a moment, as well as changes for high dynamic range on the PC. Honestly, high dynamic range on Windows 10 has not had the best implementation, and I think it's fair to say that consoles, the Xbox for example, typically has a more uniform experience, which is obviously a good thing. So I'm hoping that Microsoft does get to fix this on the PC side of things. It's not to say that it doesn't work, it's just, well, PC gamers will know what I'm talking about. As for direct storage, velocity architecture, people are calling it like a billion different things at this point. Again, that is going to be extremely critical going forward. At the end of the day, yes, PCs do have a lot more RAM than consoles. You know, the typical gaming PC has like 16 gigabytes of DDR4, high-end systems have 32, and of course your graphics card might have 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes, whatever. But yeah, the whole purpose, of course, of something like velocity architecture is that you can load data in so much faster, you can pull in, the data as you need it. And as we start to move towards systems with much faster buses, such as PCIe Gen 4, which has, been supported now for a while, we've got Ampere, which supports it, RDNA 2, and so on and so on. It's going to be very important, I think, for games development on PC. When GameStack Live does actually, detail this stuff, I'll be, detailing it for you. So definitely stick with me if you want that information. With all of that said though, thank you very much for checking out the video. If you've enjoyed it, you know what to do. Subscribe of course to the channel if you've not already done so, and because it's YouTube land, click the bell icon. And with that said, comment down below which PlayStation titles you want on the PC, or conversely, do you think it's a good idea for PlayStation games to be released on the PC? With that said, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.